We're back on the topic of the leaky bucket because we all know that we have waste potentially in our business development process or sales process that we want to get rid of. Why? Because waste costs you money, it costs you precious time, and it might also drain certain resources in the business. And so we want to get rid of waste, therefore make more money and be more effective with the time at hand. Now, in this particular video, we're going to move on to phase number 2, which is prospecting, and also cover stage number 3, which is first impressions. So phase 2 now, first of all, is prospecting. And just to give you an idea what prospecting consists of, prospecting is spending more time with better people. So being in the wrong place is one of those examples, one of the mistakes that we absolutely unequivocally want to avoid making. Because I see it sometimes when people that I know what sort of clients their business wants to work with, and they show up in a business environment at networking functions where no such people even congregate. That is being in the wrong place. Therefore, you're not necessarily tapping into a captive audience that has the wants and needs and also financial means to purchase your products or your services. The other thing is to talk to the wrong people. If you, for example, need to talk to the business owner and you end up talking to HR people, that of course ain't gonna work. If, however, the HR person is the first user of your product or your service and they would really love your product or your service, they can become a great influencer of a decision, even though they might not necessarily sign off on it. So depending on where you're at, you want to make sure that the time you're investing in prospecting is allowing you to bond, connect with, and listen out the right people, be a sounding board to them, build connection with them, relationship with them, so that they then also work behind the scenes to take on your product or your service offering. Now, if we then, let's say, go to first impressions, this is yet another stage or phase in the buying cycle and the business development approach, so to speak. And it's all about you creating a favorable first impression, because the challenges is that very often people undermine their own performance and the outcomes by just not really getting along with people in the first instance. We think that it should be a good idea to have a bit of an icebreaker before we start talking about business. And so we might say, hey, well, hello, my name is Bram. How are you going? How was the weekend? You know what brought you here today? We might do such a thing and think it's okay. But guess what? It probably only works about 7 out of 10 cases, and in 3, guaranteed it will backfire. Now, 3 compared to 7 doesn't seem to be like that much of a potential waste, but guess what? They could be our biggest potential client, representing the biggest number of business to us. If we don't necessarily engage with people in a way that suits them and makes them feel comfortable, they might just close up, because we all know that there is such a thing like a 7-second rule. People make a first impression about us just like we do about them in the first 7 seconds, sometimes even less so. Therefore, we really want to know how to read people and then give them a treatment that suits their style. The other thing, for example, is judging. I remember back in the days when I was looking at my business development process, and I was actually scratching my head, because I couldn't figure out why there were certain people I was doing business with and others that I wasn't. And as I was doing this, I caught myself on judging a certain group of people, and it was exactly the type of people that I was not getting any traction with. We were not doing business. It felt to me as if I was wasting time. We were sitting down meeting after meeting. I was creating proposals. I was presenting the proposals to them. It all looked fine, but they didn't make a decision. At least not a decision in favor of my products and services. It's definitely clear that when we judge people, that it basically makes us feel awkward and uncomfortable. And our thinking, the way we interact with them, the sort of way we write our emails, how we pick up the phone and relate to them when we see them, like how we engage, it all gets affected in a negative way, and that then will backfire. The other thing is that we also might have a wrong pace. We know that, for example, in
the country that I live and work in and that I dearly love, Australia, that there is, roughly speaking, 48% of Australians that are slower paced. It means that it takes time for them to make up their mind. It takes time for them to develop a relationship. It takes time for them to process information. And it therefore also takes time for them to make up their mind and make a decision to purchase or invest in some sort of service or product. Well, if let's say we in our business development are more urgency driven, or even worse, if you're a business development manager or you have certain quota to hit by the end of the month or the end of the quarter or the end of the financial year, you might suddenly go into overdrive mode in a way and therefore burn the bridge. And I call it also premature selling. Therefore, the pace is not conducive for the particular client or potential clients that we are talking to. So we need to find also ways to read people and accommodate their time frame rather than us pressing our time frame on them. Last but not least, it might be a case of the wrong priority. Case in point, some person is very task focused, very business savvy, is very time conscious and the likes, and they all come from time is money sort of consciousness. Well, if this person meets a potential business partner or referrer or client, and this person is very laid back, easygoing, very chatty, and they're very social gregarious, you can already see there that there's going to be a mismatch between one person and the other. And that's where so often first impressions turn into negative ones rather than positive ones.
So these are some of the costly mistakes to avoid per stage as we talked to it in the video. Let us know what your thoughts are, your questions perhaps, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video. My name is Bram.